Well, hey, EVTV, as we told you last week, and you probably got a little postcard segment update on the in-between week that you missed us, the New Electric team came over to the UK and visit Kevin Sharpe of Zero Carbon World, and we have now found out Mainpine Incorporated. We brought him a large supply of EVTV goodies, including 57 kilowatt hours of CA180 FI cells, a big Siemens motor, and an e-gear drive. And he has already told us that he's looking for some more parts to finish the kit that he's going to be putting into yet another, but a very special Volkswagen split screen bus.
Absolutely.
So hey Kevin, so great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
And thanks for having us here, and we've been taking us all through the countryside and meeting wonderful EV people. We've been talking about some business stuff that we'll get to in just a second. But tell us first how you found us and found the idea of getting these batteries into what project is happening.
Sure. Well, this is, as you can see, all the battery cells that we're going to be putting into our 1963 split screen VW camper, which is a project I've actually been thinking about for about 5 years. But we're actually at the point now, excuse me, we're actually at the point now where we have a need to develop a test bed for a lot of the technology that we're developing. We're doing some things related to charging and some things related to GEVCO, for instance. So there's a lot of technology we need to test, and this is really the platform we wanted to do it. We're also involved in a round the world trip in 2016, so which will be really good. There are now currently 6 cars signed up for that. So we're hoping very much that the VW will be one of those that will travel around there. So that's 80 days around the world. So that'll be a great, really exciting project.
Super good. And how did you manage to luck into the EVTV quality stuff? Did you?
Well, I think online, of course. Historically, I've been watching EVTV, I guess, for 2 or 3 years. You know, obviously, really enjoyed the work that you're doing with them as well.
Great, thanks.
And I mean, I'd always planned to do my own EV, just never had the time, but. Have a little more time now, and so we'll actually, get down and get building, which will be great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And since we're component guys, and you've hinted at the word charger, but that does cover a multitude of sins. Do you have a little sneak peek at what kind of power levels you're looking at that charger, sir?
Yeah, well, certainly, I've driven 50,000 miles in a Tesla all over Europe, so I have a good sense of what we need, certainly within Europe, and I have this sort of idea that basically we should be able to charge from anything, absolutely anything that we find. So in Europe we have quite a lot of 43 kilowatt AC, and for this particular project we're interested in actually being able to use 2 of those at the same time. So up to 86 kilowatts AC, 100 to 150 kilowatts DC as well. So part of the sort of test we're doing with this product, we're doing direct from solar charging, for instance, so DC charging direct from solar. We also want to be able to use this battery pack for powering, potentially the house when it's not being used for the vehicle. So there's a lot of experimental work going on, but
almost more power management unit than strictly charger as we know it.
Yeah, absolutely, and all the way down to down to 6 amps, which is 1 kilowatt off of solar on the house, for instance.
Instead of constantly switching off because the voltage drop and you don't get your trickle level of charge.
Absolutely. So we want to be able to, that whole range, we want to be encompassed. And obviously at an aggressive price point, although this will be very much a development project, so, price for us is less important at this point. Sure. But longer term, we might well turn it into a product, and if we do, then obviously we want to do that at an aggressive price point.
Excellent. Now, and we all know that in order to charge, one needs having a good battery, taking the charge, a good charger, providing the source, but we also need to be able to connect to that grid system. Now, this is actually how we found Zero Carbon World, and now we know Mainpine behind it, that they actually have really great hardware at very aggressive price points with a very high quality standard to be able to install in your home, or even take it with you mobile on the go, and then get a good 22 kilowatt hour source and be able to communicate with your vehicle, whether it be a OEM Tesla Model S, that, in Europe all over we have these red CE plugs, 3-phase 32 amp. Now a Model S owner will get a red 16 3-phase plug with their car and a little unit that goes in between, because those you're allowed to hot plug. But the 32 amp 3-phase, you're not allowed to hot plug because you would have so much corrosion or damage effects on the terminals that theoretically over time, current carrying capacity would go down, heat would go up, fires could happen.
Sure.
So now old Tesla Model S owners know that, for instance, just in Amsterdam alone, there's over 10,000 plugs, and there's only 3 22 kilowatt hour charging stations.
Yeah.
Now we got to do something about this, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why we figured that if we would come over here and be able to talk and get some hands-on, we've got a unit at the shop that we'll be building this next week or so, putting online and making sure Model S's will line up for charge at our little station. Kevin was great and did a little rundown of his components as they are now. So we'll switch to that so you can see what he's got for charging hardware.
Yeah. So this is just a typical example of the sort of products we've done. Historically, this is a branded product for Zero Carbon World. This actually has all of our technology within it, including the EPC, the protocol controller. And this is a 7 kilowatt Type 1 or J1772 with a tethered lead. This is also available with the Type 2 tethered lead, including a 22 kilowatt 32 amp version, which is huge in Europe. So all of the lovely Model S's, of course, are all charging at 20 kilowatts, so they need this sort of solution. Also, the same basic hardware is used in the socketed version. So again, there's a 7 kilowatt and 22 kilowatt version available. So that this is one of the exciting new products that we'll be producing under the Mainpine brand as we go forward. Within that unit is the Mainpine EPC, and the EPC is basically an EVSE protocol controller, and this actually provides all the control functionality for the EVSE. Although many people like to make charging stations sound very complicated, they're actually extremely simple. Basically, a contactor, an RCBO, and a protocol controller. And the EPC comes again in various flavors, different functionality, whether it's a tethered unit or a socketed unit, all the way up to 80 amps, and also all down as far as 6 amps. So there's actually a solar mode where you can control this depending on how much solar you're making. So that's a really, something I use all the time. It's a fantastic feature. We also do a whole range of sort of kits of parts. This is something that the user base has come to us and asked for. So basically a very sort of rugged, small charging station, and we supply a whole kit, which is the case, RCBOs and contactors. We actually use German manufactured RCBOs. We do that purposefully in terms of quality. It's a big issue for us. So we want to sell this stuff and then only hear good things. So we focus on quality control. It's a really important part of this. And of course, we also have the cable types. So we have charging station to car cables, 32 amp, single phase, 3 phase, type 1, type 2. And we also sell for the kit, people are buying the kits, the cables themselves. So this is a typical type 2 cable, which comes in with a free end that people then terminate within their charging station. And of course J1772 or type 1. So a whole range of products. We have various other products that are coming as well. But this just gives you a flavour of the sort of thing that we've been talking about.
This Q1 2014 stuff. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of this technology, I think it's important to say, has been deployed. There are over 3,000 of the EPCs in use today. Zero Carbon World has donated over 500 charging stations. All of those have this EPC technology. So, this is established, known working technology. And as a driver myself, it's incredibly important that charging stations work and always work. So, all of the technology that we develop has that ethos in it. It's really important. With New Electric, all the new stuff that we're doing together, many of these products and many more will be available to all the European customers who want these high quality, aggressively priced products.
Fantastic. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Good job. So that's some really cool stuff, and as Kevin is saying right there. Yeah, live studio audience. So as Kevin was saying there, the stuff is now known and loved under the Zero Carbon World brand, a charity started by Kevin Sharpe that has donated over 500 charge stations here through the UK. But Kevin, could you talk a little bit about how Zero Carbon World has done what you wanted to do and how you're going to be coming out with these products for a larger group of audience?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you know, our ambition was to donate 500 charging stations, and we've done that across the UK into primarily what we might call leisure type locations, hotels, bed and breakfasts, national trusts, you know, parks, those sorts of things. And we really wanted to show those locations how easy it was to actually install charging. So it was an educational process. And yeah, as we say, we have 500 locations. We focus very much on very rugged and reliable because, you know, so therefore no RFID access. You know, we always expect these to be working. You turn up, you plug in, you charge, you go and do something else. And power levels from 7 kilowatts to 22 kilowatts, which means basically a really good match for whatever you're doing. You know, an overnight charge if you're at a hotel, or if you're doing an activity, let's say you're quad biking, for instance. We have some quad bike locations. You go there for a morning and an afternoon, well, at 22 kilowatts, you can get your perfect, you know, solution for recharging.
Barbecue lunch and you're out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, really low cost but very, very, you know, rugged solution. So we donated the 500, which is what we set out to do. We also started an online shop to make high quality products available to end users. There was, we felt, certainly in Europe, there was a lot of high pricing, a lot of manufacturers hiring pricing very high, which we felt was actually detrimental for a lot of drivers. We want drivers to adopt en masse, and part of that is driving down prices. So we launched a shop with lots of product, you know, cables and charging stations. The challenge has been that's got incredibly successful. We're selling all over Europe. We have a lot of inquiries from the US, and it's a challenge for a charity.
Yeah.
You know, so what we've taken the decision to do is to close the shop for the charity so that it can focus on its donation and its environmental work. And then for Mainpine, which is a company that developed all these products, to launch all of these products through a network of resellers such as yourselves. So what that means is people will be able to buy, you know, the same quality products, but worldwide, which is fantastic for all of us.
And just to make sure that Kevin's walking the walk and not just talking the talk, we got a tour of the production facilities, and we'll show you a little bit of that as we go on now.
And the quality of tests, I mean, as Nick was saying earlier, every single product we've ever built has a unique serial number. We can go back right to, as I was saying, in the first instance to when it was built, and then actually all the way back through the complete component history. So we've been able to identify, say, a component failing over time, and you can then actually look at which batch were built with that component. So you can then actually go out to customers and you know, before there's a problem, actually do something about that sort of thing.
Most of our customers don't necessarily need that quite the level that our manufacturer control software offers, except for our aerospace customers. We have a customer called Ultra Electronics, who are aerospace, and they will need traceability back to raw material because it's aerospace stuff that takes a hell of a long time.
Yeah. How many units have been produced and are out in the world, roughly?
I think Zero Carbon World's donated 520, something of that.
Yeah,
520 of this new generation. We're in early production, so I don't know how many. Do you know roughly how many?
I think it's under 50.
Yeah. Well, it's under 50.
Also, the components, the Mainpine EPCs, they're over 1,000 in Europe.
Yeah, they're in fact, well over 1,000. So in total, I mean, what's important, I guess, to understand is that all of the components that are in this generation were in the previous generation. So we've been using the same technology all the way through. So it's been out there a long time. And EPC is used by a number of OEMs today. You know, that's the core product that's in their charging station.
That's a car in a box.
Yes.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Simulating it.
Yeah, we got fed up with driving the car.
Test run off the train. That's right.
So basically this will run through a set of standard tests. Switch the
where's-
contactor on here. So in effect that's told it I'm a car, I'd like to charge, and they've sort of handshaken and and then it went into charging, and now it's checking that it can disconnect the charging correctly.
So what it's doing is going through the whole protocol, but it's actually measuring things like pulse widths and voltage levels. So it's an incredibly accurate against the standards.
The pick and place machines which we use, which we got 4. So they're fed, and then the head, there's a XY head that flies up and down. So this is a printing machine. What it does is you can see just about, and there's an image of the pads of the components that go on the board, and you run a squeegee across there, and it rolls solder paste over the apertures and leaves a print on the board of solder paste. So now we're ready to place the components, and the tackiness of the solder paste holds the components in place, and then when you finish putting all the components on, i.e. building the board, you then put the board through what's called a reflow oven. Yours is now fully surface mount, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
But we got there. yeah.
But funny, even though, despite Kevin's board, most boards have got some form of leaded component on it, typically connectors. And so this side is where we do all the leaded build, the build of components they've got legs that go through boards in effect.
Right.
To get a professional approach to a leaded build, we've got wave solder machines. There's a big vat of solder.
Really good.
That's molten.
That's hot.
They're very hot. APC 610, which is an acceptable, as it says on there, basically a validation standard. It doesn't tell you how you're going to do it, but it says when you've done it, it should look like this.
So there you have it, guys. I mean, we've seen the goods. They're there. They're rebranding, and they're making sure the goods are going to be there in large quantities. They definitely have their quality of production down. So we're very excited going forward that on a very short term, we'll be able to deliver to European customers at, say, the 3-phase 22 kilowatt hour levels that we so desperately need here. And then going forward, as we all become good friends, we hope to do lots of business and help change the world for the better.
Absolutely. That'd be
Kevin, can I say thank you so much for this week? We've had an absolute great time, met a lot of interesting people, and are really excited about the future.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've really enjoyed your visit here, so it's been fantastic. So thanks for coming.
Please. You heard it here on EVTV. Take care, guys.